Hey, it's Chris Angel, and in this video, I want to clarify something I said yesterday in my video about coaching and what coaching is and is not. One of my clients actually texted me later in the day and said, hey, like number 3, you said coaching is more about focus than it is about accountability. And from what I can tell, accountability is a major piece of success across the board. So I want to address that for a second. Let's get this right from the beginning, right? Accountability, or you being accountable to the work it's going to take to get to your goals, is a given. Like, yes, without you being accountable, let's say it that way, you will not get to your goal, right? You can't just sit on the floor and have it show up. You're going to have to do some work and be accountable for the stuff, or let's use this word, be responsible for doing the work that you've set out to do, okay? So yes, you doing the work that you said you would do is paramount to you having the kind of life and the goals that you desire, okay? So let's get that clear. Now, here's what I mean. Let me use this line behind me to sort of go into the distinction of accountability. When you look up the definition of accountability, it is, well, the one word is responsible, but the other thing it says is explaining your actions, right? To be accountable is to explain your actions or decisions. So when somebody asks me, hey, I want to be held accountable, what I hear is, I want a goal really bad and I want to make sure somebody helps me get there. Like, you, please come alongside of me. I like who you are. Maybe you can help me get there. So make sure that you hold me accountable to the things I said I was going to do. See, but when we talk about it that way, can you hear responsibility in the background? Like, who owns that responsibility? If you say to me, I want you to hold me accountable, what you're sort of saying is, I want you to be responsible for me getting to where I want to go. And that's what I was addressing yesterday. That is not how coaching works. You're the one that has to show up with responsibility to do the things you said you want to do. Where coaching comes in, okay? Where coaching comes in to help you do the things you want to do and help you be accountable to getting to your goals is right here with this line. Let's say this line represents your expectation. Like, you said, I want to make 100 contacts. So that is the expectation. The expectation is, I'm going to do 100 contacts, and doing that over and over is going to get me to my goal. Okay? From a coaching perspective, when you perform above that line, when you've done 120 contacts instead of 100, and you keep over-delivering on what you said you were going to do, from a coach's perspective, what I do is I come in now and I start to look at, okay, that's awesome. You're doing the work, you're showing up, you're being accountable for or being responsible for the actions you said you do. Now let's figure out where some efficiencies are. Let's go to work and figure out where we could increase conversion. Let's figure out what else we can do to continue to produce this kind of result and give you more space in your schedule. Okay? And that is about where you and I are focusing. This is focusing versus accountability. This is where you and I go to work to focus on what's going to give us better efficiencies, because at the foundation, you're already doing the work. Now, the other alternative, the other option here or scenario is that you're not performing to expectation. You're performing below 100 contacts. Maybe you're doing 40 contacts or 50 contacts. And every time we talk, you keep showing up with less than what you said you would do. You're not being, right? In the connotation of that is, you're not being accountable for the work you said you wanted to do. And from a coaching perspective, if it's just about accountability, then what that conversation sounds like is, hey, you said you do 100, you only did 40, so next week you better do 100. And I just get out a big old stick, right? And I just beat you with it until I, scare you enough to do the work. And you could, the stick could be in the form of a big check, or it could be in the form of some other thing, but it's just basically going to make you do it. And that, right, is not my style of coaching. Where I go to work with people when they're performing below standard or below the expectation is looking at or focusing on, why are they not doing the work? Gang, look, like I said yesterday, we're not in elementary school, so this isn't like I'm going to put you in a timeout. You're an entrepreneur. You're in business for yourself. You're going to have to want this. And because you're an entrepreneur, my understanding of it is that you're motivated. So if you're motivated, but you're not doing the work, then to me, there's something else at play, right? There's some other thing happening that we need to kind of like uncover to figure out why you're not doing the work. And if that's the case, then we start to look at what do we need to focus on so that you're doing the work you need to do to get to your goal. Now, again, my experience would say that when people who are motivated and in business for themselves aren't doing the work they thought they were supposed to do continually, it's usually because there's something not in alignment with the work they thought they were supposed to do. Like who they are and the work they're supposed to do are not congruent. They're not in alignment. And that's where I go to work, right? Where I go to work as a coach is start to figure out, okay, what's gonna be the thing that fits for you so that you can take that motivation and now feel like you're winning. I think actually that's a really good point. I mean, a lot of this is about entrepreneurs want to feel like they're winning. And the more they feel like they're winning, the more they continue to do the work. I mean, look, gang, this is just human performance we're talking about. Go to sports psychology, anything like that. Human performance, this is it. Like, the more you can feel like you're winning, the more you keep showing up, which would be you being accountable to the stuff you said you do, right? And if you're not showing up consistently, then there's something wrong with the thing that you think you're supposed to do. It's not congruent. And as a coach, that's where I go to work. Here's an example. Several years ago, I had a client who owned a real estate company, and he wanted to door knock. He loved it. He loved door knocking, and he wanted to do some more of it. So in our phone call, we set up the expectation that he was going to door knock for 2 hours. We already had talked through all the stuff he was going to do, what he was going to hand them what he was going to say, everything. So we had rehearsed it. It was all planned out. Now, he loved door knocking, so it was congruent. But every call we had, it was like, no, I didn't do it. And then we'd have another call and say, well, what happened? And I asked him to explain his actions, which is me asking him to be accountable for, right? It's the accountability. Explain yourself. Why didn't it happen? Well, I got busy. Well, I had some phone calls. Well, all these agents wanted to talk to me about stuff. So you could see like something wasn't right. And accountability, just more accountability wasn't the answer. Like if we just kept going on call after call saying, hey, tell me, why you haven't done it, or tell me like, why don't you write a big fat check to your, your competitor and we'll cash that in if you don't do it. Like that's not where we come from when we're talking about human performance. So what we did, I started to realize there was something funny, right? Like he liked doing it. It felt good to him, and yet he wasn't doing it. So I said, I think there's something in your schedule that we need to fix. The rhythm of your life is not conducive to you doing the actions you said you wanted. So we backed it out, and I said, walk me through your morning routine. So here's what happened, right? He would get up, he'd do the shower, get the whole grooming thing done. He'd have cereal, and then with his cereal at his kitchen counter, he would open his computer and he would look through his emails, and he would touch his files, his real estate files. I go, and it was cool because in a moment it was like a light bulb, right? You're like, okay, that is the problem. See, gang, look, when you open your mind up to, our minds are designed to fix problems. Like they fix puzzles, right? And the minute you open your email and look at files, your brain goes down the road of your entire day to figure out how it's going to put out all the fires and solve the puzzle for your entire day. And it was very hard for him once he did that to pull his energy back to, now I need to go to my farm and knock doors, because he was too busy and preoccupied with this stuff over here. We had to change what he was focused on. It wasn't about accountability, because we were doing that and it wasn't getting us anywhere. It was about just changing what his focus was on, right? Because what you focus on expands, yes? So I said, from now on, what I want you to do is leave your laptop in your car. If you can't help yourself, right, then put it somewhere where it's not going to be a distraction. So he left his laptop in his car. He stopped doing that from his, at morning breakfast. And I said, when you're done with that, then drive straight to your farm. Don't drive to your office where people want to talk to you, and don't pick up your phone. Go straight to your farm. So he did it. Finally, he did it. We found the right thing to focus on, and he did it. And it's cool because within 3 weeks, he put $8 million of volume in his pipeline from door knocking 2 hours a day, right? And that happened because it wasn't about beating him with a stick. It was about finding what was missing in his routine and his rhythm so that he could perform above expectation, right? Look, semantically, I think what my client was saying is what we're talking about right now, right? Like what I did, what we were doing was having him be able to be accountable and responsible for the things he said he wanted to do. That's what we were doing. But it didn't come from me beating him with a stick. It came from us focusing on the right things. You understand? So sometimes, look, at the ground level of coaching, we're always going to talk about what you did. Like, what did you do last time? What happened? What unfolded? What transpired since the last time we spoke? Because we've got to check in on, are we focused on the right stuff? And in the process of you telling me what you did, you are now accounting for, explaining the actions and decisions you made since we last spoke, right? So that is you being accountable. The thing I want to make sure that we watch out for, though, in this accountability conversation is who owns the responsibility. Because sometimes what happens is people say, I want you to hold me accountable. And what they're really saying is, I want this goal really bad, but I'm not sure I've got the chops to get it done. So I want to put the responsibility on you to make sure that you make me do it. And that is really what I was talking about yesterday, right? Like, at the end of the day, you have to own the action. And my job as a coach isn't to own that for you. My job is to come alongside of you and help you decide what to focus on, right? It doesn't matter whether you're performing above or below. It doesn't matter what the expectation is. If you're not willing to own the action, I can't do it for you, right? Coaches don't do the action for you. So that's it, gang. I mean, I guess a couple things, right, in summary. One, just make sure that if you're seeking accountability, validate that you want something really bad. I mean, you want it bad enough to have somebody hold your feet to the fire. That's why you're asking for accountability. But just make sure that you don't give that responsibility to somebody else. It's your job, your responsibility to do the work and to want it and to show up, right? When you pay money, when you hire a coach, what you're hoping to get in addition to that, right? Because you could have anybody make you write a big fat check and carry a big stick around and chase you and beat you if you're not doing the work. What I would recommend if you're thinking about coaching is you want somebody who's going to come alongside and help you uncover, if you're performing below expectation, help you uncover what's missing. Help you uncover what there really is to focus on so that you perform above your expectation. And if you're performing above expectation, then what you want is a coach who doesn't just keep showing up and saying, well, what did you do? That's great. Good job. Let's see you next week. You want somebody who's going to come alongside you and start to figure out what are the efficiencies now. Now that you've been consistently performing and we've got a baseline of action and expectation, now let's figure out where to go to work so you get better return on the effort that you spend. Okay? All right, gang, so, hopefully that helps just clarify the accountability thing. I think it's important for people to be responsible and accountable to the work they do, but I don't think it's the coach's job, or I think, let's say it this way, I think a better expectation from your coach is that they would come alongside you and help you decide what to focus on, rather than just show up and beat you with a stick. Make sense? All right, thanks for spending this time with me. Again, it's Chris Angel, and I'll catch you on the next one.